I was growing wimpy papayas until I stumbled upon this one rotten secret. In today's video, we're talking everything papayas, from growing them from seed to grafting to even air layering them as methods of propagation so that you can clone good varieties. I'll share with you my tips and strategies on how you can start growing bigger and better papayas. Stick around until later because I'll share with you that one rotten secret. Let's get into it. Ideally, when growing papayas from seed, if you're not in a controlled environment, they won't be 100% of what the parents are as far as the same variety. So this is where grafting and air layering comes in to clone the parent plants. And in papayas, you usually got pure male plants that only have flowers. And then the females give the fruits. And then they got hermaphrodite plants that have both flowers and fruits. Most of my trees that I have, they're all females. It's good to have at least one male. Say if you got like 10 female plants, it's good to have one male plant because it can help to pollinate, right, the females. So I notice with like some of my papayas, they end up falling off, some of them, because they're not getting pollinated by, say, like the bees. Some of them do, and they stick. So I don't have any male papaya plants right now, but I know there's some around because I'm getting fruits from these guys. So when starting papayas from seed, one trick you can do is when you get, say, papayas from this is a little stunted papaya. As you can see next to this guy, it's absolutely massive. But when you get seeds from a papaya, I'll cut this open right now. Hopefully this got seeds. No seeds in this one. But when you get seeds from a papaya, right, they're usually all in here. You can scrape them out and put them in a little bowl, and then I would just put water in the bowl and let them soak for a couple of days. Say about 5 to maybe 7 days. Change out the water at least once or twice during that time. But because the papaya seeds, they have a membrane around the seeds, by soaking them in a bowl of water, it'll remove that membrane from the papaya seeds. And then you can just simply dry them on a cloth or a napkin. And then after that, you can just plant them immediately or whenever you're ready. You can always put them in the ice box or freezer for long-term storage. So once you do that, say you start planting your seeds in the pot, right? Papayas is pretty resilient, honestly. They'll come out and they're pretty strong growers if you put them in the right environment with the right soil. Different varieties of papayas will have different shapes and sizes, from texture, colors, and even tastes will be different. As you can see in this example right behind me, this papaya right here has this type of almost like a teardrop shape, right? This nice and big. Look at how big this thing is. It's a good size. Whereas this papaya right here is a completely different variety, which it has more of that pear shape. And then there are also other papayas that are huge. I've seen papayas that are like this huge, massive papayas that were absolutely delicious when you cut them in half. Just wonderful, tons of meat in there and very filling. So just depending on what types of papaya you have, you know, some of mine are just volunteers from some of the papayas that I've bought from the store, from the markets and whatnot. The seeds go into my compost and then I pour them in my compost pile, and then a bunch of volunteers just pop up, right? So as far as the papayas that I have that you see right in front of me, this papaya was actually a grafted papaya that I got from the farmer's market. And if you haven't seen my other video where I show you how to graft an avocado tree in that one, I do an avocado plant. I'll leave a link for that video above and down in the description box below. If you want to learn how to graft or understand grafting more, then go check out that video. It's very informative and it shows you how you can clone certain varieties that you absolutely love. And with this papaya, what I was doing in the beginning was I was going to clone this papaya right here that was grafted already from the farmer's market. And I started doing an air layer on it, as you can see right below the fruit. You see that black trash bag? Hold on, let me take this off. My original plan was to air layer this papaya variety. And as you can see, let me take this off. So what I do when I want to clone a specific variety is that I'll use a knife and I'll cut into the papaya tree about 1/3 way up and go like this, like a U, half of a U. And by injuring the cambium of the papaya tree, I'll then wedge a tiny stick, very tiny stick, into that wound, which will keep the tree like a little open, right? It'll pry open the wound. And then I'll use just a simple plastic bag with peat moss or coconut coir, you could also use. And then I'll put it up on the wound. So this wound was behind this bag, right? And after some time, you can see that it starts to root and heal itself. I got some ants right here trying to make home. But you can see how once it roots like this, I would say, you know, roughly about 90 days. If you give it about 90 days, it'll have roots. And then what you can do next is, because this one is fruiting, I'm not going to air layer it right now. But if it wasn't fruiting, I would cut the papaya right here. I would cut it, and then I would take off majority of the leaves. I would cut off maybe 90% of the leaves and just leave 2 or 3 baby leaves on top. Some of these small guys right here. And then I just pop them in a pot, put them away kind of in the shade. And within, say, like a month, they'll be ready to plant into another pot or in the ground. And this is how you can clone specific varieties that you love of papaya. So for now, I'm just going to let this thing fruit. And this was originally grafted. And then I'll eventually air layer it into another spot in the yard. And then you just keep cloning papayas like that. You can just keep cloning papayas. And right here, I have a line of papayas. Check this out. Even this tiny guy right here. You see this tiny papaya? I planted all of these papayas at the same time. That guy's a little runt back there and he didn't catch. But all of these guys were planted at the same time. And they were all air layered into this spot. Every papaya in this row was air layered into this location right here. You know, and then these first 2 right here, this one and then the second one that I showed you, were grafted from the farmer's market. Somebody had them grafted already at the farmer's market. I popped them in the ground. And then right here, you see how this papaya tree splits off into 2? It was because I air layered this first papaya. And I took the top that I cut off, right? I took that top and planted in here, into this pot, as you can see right here. And I'll put up a picture of how this guy looked. Like maybe after about 6 months, it was giving beautiful, big fruits. This is another air layer that I did quite some time. I wanted to grow dwarf papayas, and I did so in the containers because they're short, right? Papayas, they can grow tall. before they start to fruit. So by air layering or grafting them, you can have dwarf-sized papayas, right? Shorties, that'll be fruiting already. As far as different varieties of papayas, I had this one papaya plant that was just absolutely beautiful. The fruits were gorgeous. And for some reason, the meat inside, it was super mushy. And I couldn't figure out why until after I realized that that variety just had soft meat. So these varieties that I have now, they're a different variety and they're more firm and soft at the same time. They're right in the middle. They're perfect actually. These varieties are much better than that other one I had. I noticed that here, this part of this papaya. This papaya, I air laid right here. You can tell, you can totally tell. So when it was growing up, I put the, I wound it. I put the peat moss with that little piece of stick, wedging the wound open a little so that it can shoot out roots. And then after about 3 months, I cut it, boom, and I popped it in that other location where I was showing you the line of papayas. And then eventually this just shot out a new shoot and it grew all the way up to here now. So I cloned this variety. And the other clone and the original air lay that I did from this is right where I showed you, that one big healthy papaya. Right, that one is this guy right here, big and healthy. And this is how you can tell a healthy papaya from one that is not. When you see the stump, right, the trunk growing, when you look up here where it's green, right, down there is more harder, older. And then this is the new growth right here. Whenever you see them big and thick, you see how thick this guy is right here? When it's thick like this, that's how you know you got a healthy papaya plant, that it's happy and it's getting all the right vitamins, minerals, and all this good stuff in it. And I'll share with you shortly the one rotten secret that I used to get better results than I was getting in the past. Because when I put these papayas into this spot right here in this line, I tilled the ground in the past. And what I noticed is that it lost a ton of nutrients like a year or two after I tilled it. And the plants, a lot of the plants that I planted, they were struggling. So I would have to throw in compost or organic fertilizer. This guy is a stunt. You can tell it just never took off. And all the other plants were about the same size when I planted them. One of the most important things when wanting to grow papayas is not going with genetically modified seeds. By doing this and going with heirloom seeds instead, you will avoid a lot of the pitfalls and headaches that come with genetically modified papayas. I'll leave links down in the description box below on some amazing heirloom varieties that give great results and have amazing flavors. When your papaya plant is under a year old, this is one of the most important times to be giving it good soil, good organic fertilizers, and good compost. By doing this, it will set your plant up for great success once it starts to fruit. One of the things I recommend giving your papaya plant is mixing some red pumice rock with good compost. If you do those two things, it will set your papayas up for an amazing future. The most simple and easy tips that I can give you to start getting bigger and better papayas is just pruning off the leaves once they start turning yellow. And then, as you can see right here, right, once it starts turning yellow, what I do personally is I just start pruning them off. There's a few right here. This one. By doing this, you now give the plant more energy to focus on the fruits and new leaves coming out. And I have noticed personally, by doing this quite often, maybe once a week, I'll check on them and I'll look, and then I'll just prune them off. I have been getting better results than I have been before. Now for the big reveal on the one rotten secret that I stumbled upon that is giving me phenomenal results. I started doing this about 4 or 5 months ago and started to see the results within 2 to 3 months. So what I was doing originally is I was taking my kitchen scraps, just all plant-based scraps, and in my bucket, 5-gallon bucket, I would just pour it in my compost pile and let it cook for about a year, right? Now, what I have been doing to my papaya plants that are at least a year old, I wait till they're at least a year and quite developed. What I have been starting to do is just taking my kitchen scraps, and instead of putting them in the compost pile, I've been throwing them in at the base of my papaya plants that are at least a year old. And you can see, let me try to dig this up. I dig a little, you're gonna see some food, right, that is all rotting. So basically like fruits and vegetables. That's all I throw in my compost scraps. So just by doing this, because I tilled this ground and that it lost a lot of nutrients by tilling the ground, I just started throwing my kitchen scraps right at the base of the tree, and then I'll just take my cut grass, right, and just put it over to hold in moisture. And by doing this, literally, it's starting to make my papaya trees right here. You can see this part of the plant. This part of this plant tree was much thinner in the past when it was smaller. And now, just by doing this for the past 4 or 5 months, this part of the tree is getting thicker. See this part? And most of my papayas, even this one, it's been getting thicker. They all have, except for that one on the end that is stunted. This one is the hugest. This one's a healthy one. Big and thick. You can see this one's thick. But they all have been getting thicker. All of them. And the fruits, they just started flowering maybe about, I want to say about 3 months ago. And then now they're just all getting super healthy and big and thick. So I know for sure that my fruit, look at this thing, it's huge. It's quite massive. I'm gonna get some good fruit this season. And that's the one rotten secret that I stumbled upon that is giving me amazing results. I'll show you an example right now of my kitchen scraps, which it's not gonna look pretty, so heads up for that. This is just bananas and oranges, and I grow sprouts. I got, sprout seeds in there, whatever, from my kitchen. Rice water when I rinse my rice. So I'm just gonna take this right here and pour it in this big container. I haven't really done it to the papayas in my containers because I had organic fertilizers and compost all mixed in. But it looks like they need a revamping of nutrients, because if you look, this thing was actually thicker in the past. When I first planted this papaya tree in this container, the green part, when it was down here, like halfway, it was thick. But now I can tell it's getting thinner. You see that? It's getting thin. We don't want that, for it to get smaller and thinner. That means it's lacking nutrients. And I never poured it in a big container before, so This papaya plant is about, I want to say about 1.5 years old. And it's an heirlay. So we'll pray for the best, because I know the ones in the ground, the papayas in the ground, when I pour the compost, they're loving it. Papayas love a lot of compost, a lot of nutrients, and water, tons of water. But even this guy, I can tell it's starting to look like it needs a revamping of nutrients. So I'm going to pour it into this container and we'll see how this guy does. I'm just praying that it doesn't get burnt. I don't think it will, because the others have not gotten burnt, but they are in the ground again. They are in the ground. And this is why I'm always testing, adjusting, strategizing on how I can grow bigger and better foods constantly. So we'll find out, and you'll be along the journey with me. If this thing burns, then I'll post pictures up in my community posts. Go check it out. If it does end up burning, then I'll post some pictures in there and you can see. And the ones in the ground, I know for a fact that they're working. So let's get right into it. Let's go. Not the prettiest sight, but hey, there's a ton of nutrients in there. I got a bunch of things, from shavings from the veggies, carrots and coconut pulp, all the good stuff in there. Bananas, banana peels, basil, all the goodies. What I'll do now is I'll just place my cut dry grass on top. You could use wood chips also if you have. What I have noticed from doing this to the papayas that are planted in the ground, it just automatically attracted a ton of earthworms. So now at the base of all the papaya trees that I have planted in the ground, there's just tons of earthworms all over the place. So we will see how this ends up turning out. If you would like a free Eat the Rainbow Shopping Grocery List PDF or my Big Bites Meal Planner PDF to help you stay on track and organized when you go shopping and planning your meals throughout the week, then comment the word gifts down below and I'll be sure to get that out to you. If you enjoyed this video and would like to learn more about gardening, plant-based nutrition, tips and tricks on how you can stay healthy and fit by growing high quality foods right in your backyard, then watch this video right here, where I share with you why you'll never want to buy bagged soil again after hearing my story. Watch this video right here and I'll see you there.